Awesome. So, who is Bokang? He started his career in paid advertising, running performance campaign for brands across Africa. Over time, he shifted into online sales and cold outreach, learning how to combine messaging data and teach to grow business faster. So, Bokang has built outreach systems, ad campaigns, and automation workflow for clients in South Africa, in Europe, and in Southeast Asia. He also creates content that teaches others how to work smart, especially as AI changes how marketing and business gets to be done today. Whether you are a student, a freelancer, or aspiring entrepreneur, his work is about one thing, which is to help people use digital tools to turn ideas into results. So, welcome, Bokang. We are very pleased and happy to have you here as part of us today. And definitely, we're looking forward to gaining, learning, and being inspired through your amazing work that you have done in the past and that which you continue to do. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Bhumi. Hi, everyone. So as Bhumi mentioned, my name is Bokang. Just a bit about myself. I actually started my career in Digify over 10 years ago in 2014. I'm currently it's 6 p.m. I'm currently in Southeast Asia at the moment. I'm in the Philippines. I basically, just to give you a bit of background in terms of where I started and where I am today. So I basically started with Digify Africa in 2014. I then went on to work at a couple of global media agencies, handling accounts such as Coca-Cola, Audi, Shell. I then, during COVID, started my own agency, digital marketing agency. I then went on to work at MTN and MTV. And then for the past 2 years, I've basically been traveling Europe and Southeast Asia. And today, I basically act as a strategic advisor working with clients in Europe, Southeast Asia, and Africa. So that's just a bit of background about myself. I'm not sure how far you are into this current cohort, but just in terms of my slides, I'll kind of go through the first couple of slides a bit fast. And please feel free at any time to just cut me or ask questions if there are any questions as they arise, or you can just take note of them and ask me at the end of the presentation. But I'm more than happy to take questions as I'm presenting. So I'm sure by now, digital marketing, as you know, it's basically a way in which companies use digital marketing essentially to promote products and services. Today, we live in a really interesting time with AI and automation because they can really power campaigns by generating content, analyzing data, personalizing experiences, and automating repetitive tasks. I think this is actually the past couple of years since ChatGPT 3.5 came out in 2023. I think there's been a lot of acceleration in terms of the things we're able to do in terms of content creation, in terms of building websites, in terms of, all aspects of digital, really. So the main differences between digital and traditional marketing is that essentially digital campaigns, firstly, they're much cheaper. Traditional marketing requires higher upfront budgets. Digital, again, allows precise targeting and personalization, whereas traditional marketing is really just broad. Digital allows interactive, so it's two-way conversations as opposed to traditional marketing being one-way. And then I think probably the most important part of digital marketing is really the fact that it's measurable. So you can really sort of measure the return on investment, or you can measure the results of your marketing campaigns. So in terms of the different marketing or digital marketing channels, so you obviously have your website and SEO, which is basically for any company or brand, it's basically sort of your home where you sort of host all of your content, and SEO being search engine optimization. So basically how people find you on search engines like Google and Bing and other ones. Content, content and inbound. So basically how you drive people to your platforms is through creating content. And inbound marketing, basically meaning attracting people to your own content, building communities on social media, currently I do a lot of work in the email space, email messaging space. Emails are another really good tool for digital marketing, and which I'll get into a bit later, but email is a really strong tool. A lot of people actually think email is dead, but now with automation and AI and there's a lot you can do with it, but I'll get to it in the later slides. Then you have your affiliate and influencer marketing. So affiliate marketing basically means I'm selling products on brands' behalf and then basically getting a commission off of it. And influencer marketing, basically using influencers to help sell products. And then you have video and audio, being basically just publishing videos on YouTube, etc. So these are the main sort of digital marketing channels at the moment. So going to PPC and paid ads. So I actually started my career in paid ads. It's actually probably what I'm most passionate about when it comes to digital marketing, or at least that's where my kind of career started. So paid ads is basically, it's a model where every time someone clicks on your ad, you basically pay. So how it works is basically the ads you see on Instagram or Facebook or Google or whatever the platform may be, basically you pay to display them in front of a certain audience. So you're able to basically filter audiences based off of your ideal customer. And you can also use, so for example, on Google, you can use keywords. So you can basically target people based off of the things they're searching for. So for an example, if you are a car dealership based in Johannesburg, you can target people searching on Google for cars in Johannesburg, for example. And then you basically pay every time someone clicks on your ad. So the metric that is, or the way of the way it's measured usually is through a metric called cost per click, basically meaning the how much you're paying for a click, and the lower the cost per click is, the more efficient your spend is, because ideally you want to spend as little as possible to get clicks to your website, or to get leads for that matter. To the next slide. So one thing that's really important to note is that a lot of people, like when they talk about like measurement, especially when it comes to paid ads, and this doesn't only apply to paid ads, it also applies to organic marketing, which is basically marketing where there's no ads behind them. So if you're just publishing content on your social media pages or on your website and you're not running ads, but the kind of metrics that are really important to look at is basically metrics that are in relation to getting some sort of return on investment. So if, for an example, a client gives you 1,000 Rand to run ads for them, what they're most interested in knowing is basically, with that 1,000 Rand, what is the business impact? So how much am I getting back? So usually that would be calculated by, for example, how many leads were I able to get through the 1,000 Rand that I gave me, and how many of those leads then ended up in customers. So if I was able to get 10 leads and I closed 2 leads, and those 2 leads paid me 1,000 Rand each, that means I made 2,000 Rand, meaning the 1,000 Rand that I spent on ads gave me a 1,000 Rand return on investment. Then a lot of companies also look at cost per qualified lead. So the difference basically meaning that sometimes clients just want you to find them qualified leads basically meaning, instead of just having a long list of leads or a long list of people that are interested in your product or service, you qualify them. So for an example, qualifying a lead could be having a form where you ask people to fill in a form asking them, for example, what their monthly income is, what their where they live, et cetera, information that essentially allows you to know, information that allows your clients to know whether the leads you're giving them, or the information you're giving them about the people that you've gathered, or the leads that you've gathered, is actually people that are relevant to them. So cost per qualified lead is a really important metric. conversion rate, which is probably the biggest one. So basically the conversion rate basically meaning the percentage of people who complete the desired action. So this could be the percentage of people who, if you're running an e-commerce brand, for example, and you're selling shoes, the conversion rate would be, when you're running a paid campaign, would be the percentage of people who end up buying a product on your e-commerce store. So to give you guys a bit of context, usually in digital marketing, the average conversion rate is 2%. So basically, if 100 people see your ad on average, the 2% of those people will convert. I usually like to say that it's sort of like it's a numbers game. So basically, the bigger the number. So, but and 2% is also just sort of the average industry wide sort of number that's thrown around. But I have seen campaigns where you get conversion rates of up to 10, 15%, depending on the brand, depending on the offer, et cetera, et cetera. So it goes much higher than 2%. But usually, I would say 2% is roughly a good conversion rate for any campaign. Then you have your click-through rate. So your click-through rate basically means the number of people who click through. So if you're running an ad, the number of people who click through to your website or your app or wherever you're taking them to after they click on the ad. You have your bounce rate. So your bounce rate is basically the idea is that when you run ads, you want people to do multiple things on your website. So if you are an e-commerce store, for an example, selling clothes, so let's use Superbalist as an example, and you're running ads on Instagram. Basically, what you want is you want people to go from Instagram onto Superbalist, and then when they're on Superbalist, you want them to visit multiple pages and browse around and hopefully buy something. So your bounce rate is basically the amount of people that click from the ad to Superbalist and then immediately click back. So the idea is that you want a low bounce rate, basically meaning that you don't want people bouncing, because if people bounce, it means that there was something wrong with your website. Perhaps it took too long to load, or perhaps the page you took them to wasn't appealing to the audience you're targeting, et cetera, et cetera. So bounce rate is just a metric that is used to kind of see the effectiveness of your ads, but also the effectiveness of where you're driving people from your ads. Then you have LTV, which is the lifetime value of a customer. So there's this acronym that's used a lot in digital marketing, which is CAC, which is the customer acquisition cost, basically meaning how much it costs to get a customer to buy, basically. So LTV, lifetime value, is basically it's basically a way in which you can calculate on average on average, if you're able to get one customer, how many times will they buy? How long will you be able to retain them, or how many times will you be able to sort of get them back onto your site to buy again? And then basically it gives you an idea of basically how much you can invest to acquire them. So if, for an example, you have let's use Superbalist again as an example. You're spending 100 Rand to get someone onto Superbalist website to buy something. The idea is that within the lifetime of their interaction with your brand, you have to make that 100 Rand back. So how you do that is through retention and through email marketing, through nurturing the relationship with the customer, etc. And basically then and then over time, basically, then you're able to get that figure back. So lifetime value is usually a metric or a key performance indicator, which basically measures which basically forecasts how much you think you can get out of one customer. So basically, in terms of content, again, so you have your content marketing usually used to educate, entertain with blogs, videos, podcasts, and you usually use that content to repurpose across social, email, and SEO. A really big thing is providing value before you sell. So if you look at a lot of brands, or maybe not even a lot of brands, but if you look at like a lot of I'd even say influencers on LinkedIn, for example, they give away a lot of free information. So Gary Vee is someone, for an example, he's a digital marketer, essentially. He's one of the biggest digital marketers. There's another guy called Neil Patel as well. But basically, they use their LinkedIn to basically educate people around digital marketing, share the latest insights and trends and strategies that they use. And essentially what they're doing is they're providing value before they sell. So essentially, a big part of content marketing is providing value before you sell. So by building value, or by providing value, what you're doing is you're building trust and authority. Email marketing is, again, super important because once you're able to get people's email addresses, people check their emails. Like I think email marketing is one of those things, and maybe I'm a bit biased as well because I've recently, or I think maybe the past 3 years, I've been very into email marketing. But email marketing is still super powerful. A lot of people think it's dead. A lot of people think that social media is the only thing. But email marketing is very powerful if you're able to do it well, because basically if you're able to build a big enough subscriber list, essentially you can sell them things, or you essentially stay top of mind. It's very easy to sort of place yourself as a thought leader. So if people are getting a newsletter from you or your brand or whatever the case may be. So if you think, so for an example, I know like Mr. Delivery or Uber, for example, every week, they send emails reminding you of their latest deals, payday deals or whatever the case may be. So I've noted your hand up here. So they send emails weekly or whatever. And essentially what they're doing with email marketing is they're just trying to stay top of mind. And email marketing is important because essentially you can stay top of mind. And the reason why a lot of brands use it is because basically once they have access to your email, it's basically like having access to your WhatsApp. They can contact you directly. And most people still do open emails, funnily enough, even though it might not seem like it. But email marketing is it's still very popular. Apure, yes, you may go for it.
Sorry, Bokang, to just raise my hand in the middle of you're speaking. I just have to be somewhere at 12:30. But I wanted to ask, with regards to email marketing, right? And now going back to link building, in the past 3 years, it was one of the best ways to sort of get traffic and obviously build brand awareness for brands, then equating to sales in the long term. And then I think in the past year or so, it's just become such a, like, it's died down. I just wanted your opinion on that. Like in terms of link building, is it like a forgotten art that one should maybe not possibly explore anymore, or is it worth it to do it like maybe alongside a digital PR sort of campaign too? Thank you.
Did you say link building?
Link building.
Sorry, can you elaborate a bit more? So what do you mean by link building?
It's in essence like sort of getting links from external sources to lead
Oh,
back
yes.
to your website. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, look, link building is still super important. I'm from a SEO perspective, and I think now it's actually changed quite a bit because
Mm.
people are no longer necessarily reading blog posts or like long form content anymore. And people are using AI nowadays. So for example, there's Perplexity, which is an AI tool that a lot of people use. I'm sure a lot of you guys use ChatGPT, et cetera, et cetera. And now with ChatGPT having the web search, for an example, more and more people are actually using AI or AI chatbots like ChatGPT to find their information. So instead of optimizing, so SEO as a a field, so to say, within digital marketing is actually dying because people are no longer going to search engines to look for information. They're actually going to AI tools like ChatGPT, for an example. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't even remember. I think in the past year, I barely use, past 2 years for that matter, I barely use Google anymore. Most of my searching is done through AI tools. So in terms of link building, to answer your question, I think now it's more a case of optimizing content for AI tools. So it's more like AI optimization. So there are certain guidelines in which AI, so the way AI pulls information from websites, similar to how Google used to pull information from websites and essentially rank them. AI is similar. So link building in the context of 2025 is more geared towards AI as opposed to the traditional method of using other websites to write about you and then sort of link to your website.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, and then and then we have social media. So of course, social media is where most of the audience lives. So yeah, just ensuring that you use social media to create shareable posts, stories, reels, and lives, and engaging in conversations, of course. So I've mentioned that LinkedIn and email essentially, I think, are really good tools, especially for those of you who are interested in perhaps going the freelance route or starting your own agency or I guess more in the sort of entrepreneurial route. But essentially what cold outreach is basically reaching out to people that don't know you and introducing yourself and selling your services. And it's a proactive way to build relationships and uncover opportunities. So what I've been doing actually for the past 2-3 years to get clients is I've basically been reaching out to people online, on LinkedIn specifically, and email, and essentially telling them what I have to offer. I've sort of defined, or I have an idea of the sort of customers that I want. So it's usually that would be defined as your ICP or your ideal customer profile. And essentially what you do is you basically create a list of people. You can do this on LinkedIn, for example. You can filter the sort of people you're looking for or potential clients you're looking for. And then what you do is you basically research them, get an idea of sort of what they do, and then you send them a request and just make sure that your LinkedIn profile and portfolio kind of mirror the value you promise. So when you send someone out a request with a message, so when you send out a message on LinkedIn, you can add a note. So on that note, you can basically say, hey, whoever, I saw that you do this and, I could potentially help you out with that. But just ensure that when people then visit your LinkedIn profile matches essentially what you're saying you can do through the content you have. Ensure that you've populated, your experience. If you don't have experience, try to find small projects, etc., things that you can put. Yeah, cold outreach is super important, and I'll get into this a bit more. But I see someone has their hand up. Go for it. I'm not sure if you're on mute or if you put down your hand. Oh, yes, go for it.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So you mentioned something that literally triggered the question. Thank you very much. So far, the information is very insightful. Let me start by that. In terms of copywriting, you mentioned that now AI is actually empowering like copywriting. So my question is, so now does AI really remove the value of, authentic writers? And if it's doing so, how does a copywriter, right, authentically write without AI, you know, removing their value. Because as a writer, an individual has their own voice and they have a certain way to actually stand out that tells, okay, this is um Luyanda who's writing this, and she has a particular way of writing that grabs the attention. So I hope you understand my question.
I understand, yes. Okay, so I think to answer your question, so there are two ways to view AI in terms of creating content or copywriting for that matter, and maybe not just even content. So generative AI as a whole. So whether it's video generation, whether it's image generation, text generation, whatever the case may be. But the way to look at it is you still need deep domain knowledge in whatever it is you're using AI to enhance. So if you are a copywriter and you're skilled at copywriting, and that's your deep domain knowledge, essentially AI will only enhance what you already know, or it will only enhance, or it will help you enhance your writing. So someone who is not a good writer would not be able to use AI the way you would be able to use AI, because you understand writing better and you have your own style, and there's certain sort of, there's certain sort of ways in which you write and stylistically and all of that. And the way I view it is that, I mean, there's a whole argument online around how AI, now everyone thinks they're a writer, or, everyone can write, or, is it, as a writer, should I be worried that my job will be taken away because there's no value in writing anymore? And I think my sort of view on it is that it won't, because the good writers will still will still much better know how to use AI to enhance their writing, as opposed to a novice in writing. So the same way, for an example, as a digital marketer, when I go onto ChatGPT and I prompt it to help me come up with a campaign, because I know the ins and outs, and I've been in I've been in the field for a decade, and I really understand how it works. I'm able to really sort of prompt it in such a way that it will give me a better answer than someone who knows nothing about digital marketing asking it a very sort of broad question. So I hope that somewhat answers your question. So basically what I'm saying is it won't really impact you that much, because at the end of the day, the domain expertise is still what's important. And AI basically just enhances someone who already has expertise in something to just do their job better, as opposed to making everyone sort of on the same sort of level, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I see there's another hand up, Nonhlanhla.
Hi, thank you for the info. So my question is, right, in terms of cold outreach and prospecting on a LinkedIn, right? So would you recommend the sponsored messages, or is it better to like be humanistic in that you request a connection with someone and then send the message? Or I don't know, because one thing I noticed is that like these sponsored messages feel a bit annoying, and they feel a bit I don't know, they lack human touch, right? So that's my thing. Would you recommend those sponsored messages for like a very broad to access to get a broad reach, or would you rather recommend going small with like connection requests and personalizing those connection requests?
That's a very good question. And perhaps since we have a bit of time, I can actually give you a practical example. Just give me a second and I'll show you. I have a practical example of a campaign that I'm running right now, actually at this moment, that I can quickly share with you. But to answer your question whilst I'm looking for it, I would recommend the sponsored messages, they don't work. It's the big corporates that kind of use because firstly, just in case you don't know, sponsored ads are extremely expensive. But secondly, there's no human touch to it, basically. So everyone knows that a sponsored ad essentially is automated. So basically, there are a couple of automation tools where you can basically run you can run automated campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns, which essentially come across as human, but it's not as sponsored. It's not as sponsored, and I'll show you an example of one now. Give me a second. Let me share my screen. So there's a tool. It's called Dripify. So basically, how Dripify works is you can create campaigns. So basically, what you can do is, so for an example, I'm working with this client, and she wants to target people, learning and decision makers at corporates in Johannesburg. And basically, what I've done for her is I've basically set up. Let me see if I can show you the flow. So I've basically set up an automation, which basically, let me see if, give me a second.
This is interesting.
Oh, and actually, interesting thing to note here. So remember when I said that the average conversion rate is 2%? So basically, we've had a 3.8% conversion rate on this, but I'll just show you the sort of messages we've been getting. So for example, here, basically this is all automated. So basically, hi, I wrote a small message basically saying she helps coaching for corporate teams, whatever. And then here we got a response. We got a response from someone who works, for example, at this guy. I think he works at the General Auditor General of South Africa. He's a senior manager. And all of this is automated. So you'll see basically it's the same message being sent out to, I think right now we've sent it out to a lot of people. But for example, we got another response. Someone was really interested. Hi, welcome to Pop Me a Mail. This person works for the Reserve Bank, etc., etc. And all of this is basically completely automated. No one knows. The messages essentially come out as if they were sent by this actual client of mine. But it's actually, we're using a tool called Dripify, where basically we send them a connection request. The connection request has a note just saying thought we'd connect because I see that you're learning and development manager and I run coaching for corporate teams. And then as soon as they accept the message, an hour later, there's an automated message that gets sent saying, hey, by the way, this is my service offering. If you're looking for someone for coaching, whatever the case may be, I am feel free to reach out to me. And so far we've gotten around, I think it's 8 responses, but 8 positive responses from people from the Reserve Bank. We got a lady from SARS who responded from us, someone from the Auditor General office, et cetera, et cetera. So some pretty high profile people who we've been getting responses from. And this tool, by the way, Dripify, which I'd highly recommend, it's actually, you can get a 7-day free trial. And you can use it for outreach. And then I think per month it's quite expensive. It's around $59. So it's just over like 1,000 Rand, but it's super, super powerful for cold outreach. I use it myself to also get clients to basically automate it because basically I don't have to lift a finger. You set it up once, and then once it's set up, basically it just sort of runs itself. And then every day you just check in and, usually you will get responses and you can basically filter out the people you want. So I wish I could actually show you how I filtered out these people. But you'll basically see that all of the people that were filtered out, they're all learning and development managers at corporates in Johannesburg or Gauteng for that matter. But yeah, I just thought that I'd give you, maybe I'll just quickly show you guys just an example of how that would work. Frida, I see your hand. I'll go for it. As I
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask, with the app that you were showing right now, is it Regify or something? Is it the same tool as the MailChimp, like the one that creators use mostly, when someone is creating content and then they'll be like, please reply with this specific keyword, and then automatically you'll receive maybe a DM directing you to their email, or maybe some sort of subscription to a course that they are selling, or whatever product that they are selling. So I wanted to know if this could be the same tool that works similar to the MailChimp app.
Yes, so it's similar. So MailChimp is actually used more for email marketing. So Dripify specifically for LinkedIn. But it essentially does it serves a similar, it does a similar thing. The only difference is just the channel. So MailChimp is more focused on email. But they're actually better tools. And I think I have them on the last slide. I've given some really good tools. There's a tool called Instantly. There's a tool called Smart Lead. Those are the two leading email marketing tools at the moment. And then I use Dripify, and there's another tool called HeyReach, but I have them all in the later slides, which I'll be sharing after the presentation. So yeah, but it's similar, just different channels.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. So, so basically, so we've gone through paid ads. Just to give you just like an idea of what the sort of funnel looks like, and by funnel, basically meaning, what the customer journey looks like online. So in the past, people used to say that marketing journeys were sort of linear. So basically, you would have to start off with making people aware about your product, and then after they're aware about your product or your service, then you'd create some content to get them to consider using you or buying your product, and then only after that would you then convert them. But nowadays, marketing journeys are non-linear, basically meaning that someone will see your post on LinkedIn, and then or a post about your product on LinkedIn, and then they'll go to Instagram to find out more information, and then they'll Google you, and then they'll Google the product, they'll read reviews, so basically what you can do with paid ads basically is that you can basically ensure that across different platforms, you're getting visibility, so that when people are moving and bouncing in between different platforms, you have visibility. So the nice thing about paid ads is essentially that you can basically run ads across all platforms and ensure that you're getting awareness no matter where a user is, basically as part of that sort of customer journey, from them knowing you up until them buying. And that's why sometimes, like, you'll see a lot of companies, they do a lot of retargeting. So if you have engaged with, let's say, a particular product on Takealot or whatever, and then you go onto Facebook, and then you see an ad of the product that you're viewing on Takealot. That's usually called retargeting, or it's called retargeting. So basically, so basically the point I'm trying to get to is that the modern sort of buyer's journey is that people move between different channels, and paid advertising is a good way to get visibility across all channels. So best practices when it comes to running paid ads is basically aligning your message to the funnel stage. So awareness ads are usually used to inspire, consideration ads are used to educate, and conversion ads are used to prompt action. The most important thing, which I always generally find to just be the most important thing in digital marketing, just across the board, is being able to target precisely. So breaking audiences into groups, so demographics, so age, gender, location, etc., and delivering specific ads that speak to specific people. So really understanding who your audience is, because the better you're able to define your audience, the more likely the audience that you're running the ads or targeting the ads towards will respond to them. But then it's also making sure that wherever you're taking people from the ads, which is usually a website, or it could be an app, depending on what it is. But ensuring that as soon as people click on the ad and they go onto a landing page or a website or an app, whatever the case is, it loads fast. It's clear from the get-go. Usually they say that you have 3 seconds to catch people's attention once they've left an ad and clicked onto a website. So you have to make sure that just from the moment they open the app or your website, they know exactly what product or service it is you're selling. The headline is clear, the image is clear, there's a strong call to action. And then also testing and reiterating. So usually when you run ads, what a lot of agencies do, or just a lot of advertisers do, is they run A/B tests. So they basically test different creatives. So basically testing different messaging, testing different imagery, testing different audiences. So testing and iterating. And then also, of course, like I said earlier, so measuring the important metrics. So how much you're paying for a lead, how much how much return you're getting on your investment. So for those of you who are interested in starting a digital agency, so like I said earlier on in the presentation, so I basically ran my own digital agency for around 3 years, around the time during COVID, right before COVID, and between 2019 and 2022. One of just some learnings, maybe just for interest's sake, what I realized is that the main thing really to sort of get clients, or how you get clients, or how you build a profitable digital agency is, I think at the core of it is basically your network. So most business actually comes from relationships and referrals. So the nice thing about a program like Digify, in my experience, was that we were exposed to a lot of people in the industry, and we all connected with them. A lot of the guys who were part of my cohort, I was actually part of the first group of Digifiers basically back in 2014. And a lot of the guys basically, a lot of the guys in my cohort went to different agencies, and right now they're all over the place. I think the Digify alumni, in terms of the ad industry, or the ad industry in South Africa, I think at almost every big agency, there should be someone from Digify. But usually how I have in the past gotten a lot of the jobs is through referrals, through people within the Digify network. So I think it's really amazing that you guys are part of this network now, because you have access to a very big network. I mean, Menzi, you could probably let me know how big the network is now, but it's a huge network. And I think you guys should really utilize that, because even a lot of the work I've gotten, etc., when I started my agency, etc., was through people that came from this network itself, the Digify network. Also, I think a big thing is basically picking a niche you truly understand. So whilst you guys are doing this program, I think that it's really important to understand. So like I said, I was initially attracted to paid ads, which is a niche within digital marketing. Digital marketing is very broad. I think, as you begin your careers, really trying to just figure out what niche it is, or what part of digital marketing do you want to get into. And perhaps, if you're going to try and start a business or digital agency, perhaps try and, stick to one service as you start, and of course you can grow. I spoke about using outreach, but also networking. So networking is also really big. So for an example, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a conference, a blockchain conference. And at the conference, basically, I was just talking with a lot of people in the Web3 space. And I was basically just selling myself, telling them what I do, exchanging contacts, LinkedIn, etc. And through a lot of that networking, I was able to secure a couple of meetings, which landed to a couple of jobs. So I think, it's really important to put yourself out there, especially if you want to run a digital agency. Right now, we live in a really amazing time, because we have AI and automation, and you can really take on a lot of work. I think, what used to take me, a week or two to or jobs that used to take me a week to execute. Nowadays, I can execute them in a couple of hours, or strategies, or whatever the case is. Really use AI as your friend. I think, there's a lot you can do. I think maybe something to emphasize here is I also believe in the ethical use of AI. And what I mean by the ethical use of AI is basically you're not asking it to do the work for you. You're asking it to basically enhance your work. So I think there's a difference. There's a difference between using AI and you just tell it sort of do this for me, as opposed to using AI as more of an assistant. So you're still the one who's thinking, but you're using it as an assistant that's doing all the manual, laborious work that you essentially don't have to do anymore, because it can do it much quicker and it just saves you a lot of time. But then you're still the one who's steering it, as opposed to sort of giving it very I guess, broad, or asking it very broad things, or asking it to do tasks on your behalf. And then, yeah, continuously upskill and adapt to new tools and channels. I mean, I'm sure you guys have noticed the past year or so, I mean, there's been so many advancements in the world of digital and the world of AI. I mean, in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, I'm not even sure when, ChatGPT 5 is coming out. And if you just look at where AI was 2 or 3 years ago, as opposed to where it is today, it's absolutely insane just how quickly things have changed. And yeah, and another big one is something that I've noticed a lot, especially when not only running a digital agency, but also just like doing freelance work. A lot of clients usually ask, if you're asking me for X amount of money per month, what am I getting out of it? Like, how am I making this money back? And the thing is, it's always important to kind of, like I said, 2% is usually the conversion rate, but there's so many things that contribute to whether something will be successful or not, a digital marketing campaign will be successful or not. This could be the website, it could be the copy, it could be the images, it could be there's so many different things. So it's always important to really just set expectations and be really clear in terms of what it is that you're able to do, and never really make promises, because you never know. And there are too many variables basically to ever. But I think it is important to always try, and you can forecast these things. So for example, what I used to do a lot when working with clients is I would basically just give them a forecast. So I'd give them, you can, on Facebook ads or on Google ads, for example, you can put in a budget, and it has a forecasting tool, and that forecasting tool will give you an approximation in terms of how many leads or how many sales you'll get with a certain budget. So usually there's a way to forecast even before you do the work. And usually the forecasts are accurate. So I found that's a good way to sort of convince people to work with you, showing them the forecast beforehand so that they have an idea, but of course not promising that they'll get those results, but for them to just get an idea. I see there are 2 hands up, so go for it. I'm not sure who wants to go for it first.
Hi, it's Lindo here. So I have a question about retargeting. So as a freelancer who works with small brands, right, that often have a really limited marketing budget, I was wondering is it actually worth investing in retargeting from day one, or is it something that should only come in later, like once there's enough traffic or data or things of that nature? And how do you really decide when it's the right time to introduce retargeting without wasting the company's resources too early?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, for retargeting to even work, usually you'd need a certain amount of traffic first to the website. So usually on Google Analytics or even on Google Ads, if you have connected, or even on Facebook Meta Ads as well, if you've connected to Analytics, it on Google Ads or Meta Ads, it will show you how many people or how many cookies you have, essentially, so how many people you can retarget to. And usually it takes quite a long time before you get to a significant number, especially if it's a client with a small budget. It takes quite a long time before you get to a number that's big enough for you to even retarget in the first place. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, last I checked it should be needed at least, I think, 5,000, at least 5,000 people visiting the website, or it could be 1,000, somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000. I can't remember the exact number, but basically, when the right time would be, I'd usually say for smaller clients, I would say 3 to 6 months, because you really need the traffic first, and the traffic with small budget takes quite a long time. So it's not necessarily an activity I'd engage in until there's enough traffic, which with the small budget will usually take a bit of time.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Hello.
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to find out, we are basically at a place now in our dignified journey where, okay, we should be finishing off and looking at our electives. And I just want to backtrack to where you were talking about, like, you resonated with paid advertising and stuff, right? In our orientation, we were like encouraged to sit down and really like find, our why, So I wanted to ask you if you can just share maybe and maybe your thought process and how did you find your why in the program and then after like the program, like what,
Okay.
like, yes.
Oh, no, that's actually a really good question. Okay, so the why for me during the program was how I got to the why as to why I sort of wanted to go down the sort of paid ads route, is because basically with paid ads, people get immediate results. So it's actually quite easy to sell, because today, if someone gives you a budget and they say to you, run paid ads, I'm trying to sell sneakers. As soon as the ads start running, immediately they get results. And it's very easy to also, there's a lot of optimization, and there's a lot of, and also paid ads. What I found quite interesting about it is, to be good at paid ads, you actually have to understand much more than just paid ads. So you have to understand creative, and you have to understand targeting, and you have to understand how the website that you're driving the ads to, how that impacts the ads that you're running. You have to understand, messaging. You have to understand, it's basically paid ads for me. It felt like one area within digital marketing that basically forced me to understand every other area of digital marketing, but also the fact that the results happen quite quickly. That really just sort of resonated with me. And I think even when I first started freelancing, it was quite easy getting clients, because with paid ads, as opposed to something like search engine optimization, which is a process that takes a very long time before you start seeing results. I found that with paid ads, and nothing wrong with search engine optimization, but I find with paid ads, it's just a easier thing to sell, and more people. It also sort of gave me a really good overview of all the other aspects of digital marketing. So in terms of choosing which sort of path you want to go to, I really think a lot of it should really just do with what I guess feels right to you. So there were some people in the cohort that I was in, they were more into sort of web development, and they decided to sort of go the web development route. There are some people who are more into copywriting. They went the social media community management route. et cetera, et cetera. So I think, yeah, a big part of it is really just your interests and what resonates with you the most. I think today with AI, I think where the sort of landscape or the digital landscape is that we're all kind of in a position where we kind of have to do everything, because now AI allows one digital marketer, or you'll see that a lot of jobs in the market nowadays, they require you to understand analytics, but they also want you to understand content, but they also want you to understand, video editing, et cetera, et cetera. So nowadays, what I find is that in the market, they're looking for more generalists, and it's easier to become a generalist because you have a lot of AI tools that can aid you. So it's basically understanding fundamentally what the principles are of each sort of discipline within digital marketing, and then using AI to basically help you with it, even if you're not good at it. So for example, I'm not good with design, but now because of AI, ChatGPT released the image generation model a couple of months ago. And now I've been able to use that with a lot of design work. So I no longer have to outsource design work. I use the ChatGPT 4 image generation, for example. So I think now the sort of place where you find yourselves in 2025, I think that instead of thinking too nichely about trying to get into one specific domain or one specific thing, I think just try to find sort of a couple of things that kind of work well together, and sort of combine a couple of things, because I think the day of just doing user experience or just doing paid ads or just doing SEO, I think those days are kind of gone. I think these days companies want people who have sort of complementary skills, 2 or 3 complementary skills. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I touched on, and I see we are running out of time. So I'll just quickly run through the last couple of slides. Yes, Panelo. You may speak.
Hi, Bokang. My apologies. I'm in the office and I'm trying to get away so I can ask my question. Thank you so much for your presentation. It's really interesting and insightful. I am also on a journey of trying to establish myself as a digital marketing entrepreneur. It does form a large part of my work in the space that I'm currently in. I manage commercial campaigns within a radio station. So those campaigns, most of the time, if not all the time, come with an element of implementing social media on behalf of our clients on the station's platforms. But in my growth, I'm a bit of a shy person online in my own personal social media platforms, but I do love digital marketing, and I have done work with events and other private clients. I just want to know, is it so important that I keep my own personal social media going, or can I just keep a studio profile going so that I can easily run my own campaigns? Like, is it a must? How effective is that in terms of the space that one wants to go into? I mean, obviously, I would have my company's own social media platforms and accounts and so forth. But in terms of myself, I mean, okay, I think I should keep my LinkedIn definitely, but like, I'm not big on being active on your Instagram and TikToks. It's like I have to be in the background because, of course, as well, the work that I will be doing is mostly on the background, but towards the consumers of social media. Thanks. I hope my question is clear.
Yes, the question is very clear. So, in terms of, like, I think so there's this term that they use a lot nowadays. It's called founder-led marketing. So basically meaning that a lot of people who are running a lot of these online or digital businesses, essentially a lot of the marketing is led by their founders. So a lot of founders are spending a lot of time building their personal brands, because basically people want to see the face behind the company. So as someone like yourself who wants to get into that entrepreneurial space, I do think that it is important, even if you're not necessarily someone who enjoys posting or whatever the case may be. I do think it is important to basically be active on social on social media, especially around what you do, when people Google search yourself. So from time to time, I think it's always important to Google search yourself and see what results come up, because usually when you're working or when you're trying to get clients or whatever the case may be, the first thing people are going to do, they're probably going to Google you. And ideally, when they Google you, you want the results to sort of reflect, what it is you do. I would go as far as to say that, if LinkedIn, of course, is the professional network, and that's, obviously on LinkedIn you're posting professional stuff, but I think that it's also important that it's basically separating the two, so separating sort of your personal life and your business life. So if you just want to be active on LinkedIn for professional stuff, then just use LinkedIn for professional stuff. But if you want to use, your personal stuff for your personal stuff, it's really debatable. It's really up to you. But I generally find that it is good to sort of use your channels as a way to promote yourself and to promote your business and put your best foot forward. And I think if, if you're using, for example, your Instagram for more personal sort of content and all of that, that's okay. But I've seen a lot of people, usually entrepreneurs or people, they just put their account on private if they know that a lot of the stuff they're posting is maybe personal and they wouldn't want their clients or, other people they're trying to pitch to, for example, because people do stalk you before they work with you. So yeah, it's maybe just being a bit careful of what you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll keep a bit of content going here and there. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, so I'll just go straight into AI and automation because I think we're over already by 5 minutes. So I'll just try to run through these last slides pretty quickly. So okay, so basically the tools that I was mentioning earlier. So my favorite tools at the moment for generative AI tools are Perplexity. So Perplexity is amazing for research. It's actually the best tool at the moment. I think it's the most comprehensive, best AI tool to use for research. I use ChatGPT a lot. I think the plus version, like I said, so the plus version is around 400 Rand a month, but I definitely think it's the best 400 Rand I spend every month because it helps me with basically just about everything. Claude is really good for coding. And then Gemini, which is free, which is actually at the moment, I think the second best large language model or AI chatbot. So I'd recommend that you guys check out Google Gemini. It's completely free at the moment. You can use it. It's really good. And then for automation and CRM basically meaning customer relationship management. I mentioned Dripify earlier on, which I use a lot for LinkedIn campaigns, but there's another one called Instantly. And then there's a tool called Clay. Clay is basically a tool in which you can get people's information, so people's email addresses, people's phone numbers. You can basically do just about any research about just about anyone, really. It's quite an expensive tool, so I think the cheapest plan goes for around $149 or so, which is around 3,000 Rand, which is quite a lot. But it basically has information about just about anyone. If you were looking for President Ramaphosa's numbers, you'll probably find it on Clay. So Clay is an amazing tool. So I've been using it a lot with clients I work with to basically help find people's email addresses, people's phone numbers, etc. And then I use Dripify/Instantly to then automate campaigns and send out messages on their behalf. I'll quickly just run through this. So, I mean, I think I basically just went through, okay, I basically covered this already. Freelancing and networking tips. So yeah, like I said, basically just in terms of networking, attend industry events, have a professional website or portfolio, so that when people Google you, you know, they know who you are. Again, nowadays it's super easy. There are lots of website builders, AI website builders that you can use to create your personal professional website, and you can basically do it in a matter of minutes. So I'd recommend that, you know, you create one for yourself. There's a tool that I particularly like. It's called Lovable. But you should check it out. You can basically just, it's text to code, so you don't even have to know how to code or anything. You can basically just tell it what you want and it will build it for you. And then, yeah, asking for referrals, leveraging LinkedIn, staying organized, and yeah, so introducing yourself. So like, yeah, introducing yourself during conversations. So when you're out and around, etc., and being clear about what you do. So you should always, yeah, you should always just kind of, whenever you get the chance, when you're speaking with people and you're networking, etc., just be strategic about it. Know what you're saying. Personal brand and digital presence. So yeah, exactly what I said in the last slide. So your brand story should be clear, consistent, and authentic. Decide what you want to be known for and who you serve. Yeah, keep your LinkedIn and social profiles clear and consistent. So like I mentioned earlier on, not mixing professional and personal posts. Make sure that you try to just kind of, yeah, make your social sort of profile or your digital presence very cohesive. I see there's a hand up from Prince. Prince, go for it.
Greetings, Bob. You said I didn't get the name of the AI tool or the platform that uses it converts words into code. You said Lovable or something?
Lovable. Yeah, Lovable.
Lovable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cheers.
All right, no problem.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, and then, okay, so I already took you through blockchain. Okay, and then here are some resources, but I'll share this in the deck, which I'll share with Menzi and Pumi. And then, yeah, so I mean, just another thing just to look out for, just in terms of freelancing, I think, you know, unpredictable income. So just ensure that, you know, you diversify your client base, and you use outreach a lot. So basically how I've been working for the past couple of years is I've been working off of having basically sort of a main, sort of having 3 or 4 clients at any given time on a retainer, which is essentially my sort of salary. And then after that, you know, week on week, what I'm doing is I'm basically doing outreach on LinkedIn. I'm reaching out to clients. I'm going to networking events, etc., etc. I'm trying to get jobs from people. Of course, if you go the freelancing route, of course, you won't have things like health insurance, retirement funds, etc. But you know, a big part of this is something that you would have to do for yourself. It's sort of the risk you take. Yeah, so finding clients, cold outreach, like I said, it's definitely the best networking, but also referrals. And again, like I said, within the Digify network, there's a lot of people within the network. And you know, you should really utilize the network itself. And then the last thing before I get to you, Altina, is I think, you know, when you go the freelancing route, a big challenge is sort of getting into a routine. So what I've done basically is I've, you know, found sort of co-working spaces. I know in Johannesburg, there are quite a lot of communities of other entrepreneurs and people who sort of have their own businesses or freelancing businesses, etc. And sort of maintaining a routine. So I, for an example, every day go to a coffee shop, and there's a coffee shop where a lot of people co-work, and then I just spend my day there. So basically I still act as if I was in a job, but you know, it's quite isolating working or freelancing by yourself. So it's always good to find communities of other people in your space, and it's also really good for networking. Tina, yes, you may go for it.
Hi. So can I ask,
with the websites like the freelancer website and the Upwork websites, as a startup freelancer, what do you advise one should do? Like which route to take, the one for the LinkedIn site or to start with those websites?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked. So basically, Fiverr, Upwork, etc., all of these freelancing sites online, they've become super competitive. So the problem is that basically you have all of these people in countries like India, Pakistan, etc., who are super skilled in digital marketing and IT and digital, etc., and they're basically charging close to nothing. And building a profile or getting jobs on a lot of these platforms, it's extremely difficult because you need the jobs first before you can create a profile for yourself. And so I wouldn't recommend going that route. I've found that going the cold outreach route via LinkedIn and, connecting with people, sending them messages, using tools like Play, or there are lots of, there's a tool called Apollo, and Apollo, you can basically find people's email addresses. So even on a free account, I think you can get something like 50 free email addresses. And you can basically just research and find the sort of people that you'd like to work with or the sort of companies. And then you can use Apollo and you can find their emails. And then basically you send them emails, basically just saying, hey, I'm interested. I think I can help you with 1, 2, 3, 4. And hopefully get them to respond. So I think that the cold outreach method is a much better method than using websites like Fiverr and Upwork, etc., which today have just become super saturated. And even if you do get jobs, the competition is so tough, and you have people who are charging basically close to nothing, who will take the job. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Sorry. The last thing can I ask, how is targeting service-based companies as a digital freelancer work? If let's say I want to venture into that space, how does it work? What should I do? Something like that, I think. I don't know if I'm understandable.
No, I understand I understand completely what you mean, because basically that's what I do. So basically how it works is basically first figure out who it is that you want to service, and then basically go into LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you can use the LinkedIn filters, and you can basically filter out the industry of people. So basically I'll give you an example. You can filter by industry. So you can filter professional services, people in Johannesburg. You want to reach out to people, let's say the chief marketing officer you want to reach out to companies that have small companies. So for perhaps companies that have between 11 and 50 employees. And then once you've created that filter, then what you do is you go through the different profiles and you then look at what you could help them with, and then you just send them messages, basically. So it's basically as simple as that. So cold outreach is basically just that. It's basically just figuring out. So for an example, I'll give you an example. There's a guy that I recently did. I sent a message to. So what I realized is this guy, he runs a consultancy business. It's based in Joburg. And I realized that he's posting on LinkedIn was inconsistent. So he was posting every 2 or 3 weeks. And what I did is I sent him a message basically just saying, his name is Stan. I said, hi, Stan. I see, I really like your posts about, business and all of that. But I see that, you have gaps in between your posts, because I think they're like 2, 3 weeks, that gaps that he would have between his posts. And I literally said to him, I think I could help you automate your content. If that's something you'd be interested in, we should chat. And then he responded to me and he said, oh, perfect. Actually, I do need help with that. So basically, by me going through his profile, I already saw the service that I could offer him. And then I sent him a tailored message that basically spoke to a need that he had. And that's why I got the response. And that's how I was able to get a meeting with him to then sell my services to him. So basically, I think if you're trying to get into the field of selling, services to service companies or B2B, essentially it's basically identifying who it is you want to service and figuring out how you approach them. And I think, like I said, LinkedIn is the best way to do it. And people are quite responsive on LinkedIn, I've found. I hope that answers your question. Okay, Kelebogile, I think you can go for it. Your hand is up.
Okay. Uh, Thank you very much. So, in terms of like LinkedIn, so as a freelancer, would you say it's advisable for an individual to, showcase their past experience beside digital marketing to build like a sort of trustee for the potential employers, or should they just stick on just like on the experience they have in terms of digital marketing or cybersecurity?
I think you should show all of it. So all of it to basically paint a picture, because basically when you show your entire sort of work history or all the things you've done, essentially you're creating some sort of a narrative, and a lot of skills sort of complement each other. So there are always things that you can take from one discipline to another, transferable sort of skills, which you can take from one discipline to another. So I think that you should show all of it, to answer your question briefly.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, and then yeah, okay, I think okay, and then I mean the next thing really, I was just gonna advise everyone basically, I've spoken a lot about AI, but yeah, definitely just creating portfolios for yourselves, updating your LinkedIn, clarifying what it is you do in your bio, using AI. So if you don't have professional images, etc., you can literally upload a picture of yourself onto ChatGPT, and you can ask it to create a professional headshot of yourself. If you don't have access to a camera or a proper camera, you have a professional photo for your LinkedIn profile. Decide on your path. So basically, pick a specific route or an area within digital marketing. Like I said, I think nowadays it's not, you can't really focus on one thing. Like I think just think of complementary parts of digital marketing. So one or two or three areas of digital marketing, and sort of combine that. You should always just, like I said, cold outreach, for example, super important. And cold outreach, by the way, it's not only to get freelance jobs, but it can also be to get actual jobs themselves. So basically, instead of just applying for jobs or whatever the case is, I'd also, people who are looking for jobs, I'd also recommend that, look for companies that you like, or companies that you'd like to, work for, and basically build yourself lists, and basically just send cold outreach messages to hiring managers or digital marketing managers at agencies or companies that you'd want to work at. So cold outreach can also be used for getting jobs as opposed to just applying, because like I said, people do check their LinkedIn and they check messages. So that's another way to you can also approach getting a job through using cold outreach. There are lots of free courses, Google Digital Garage, HubSpot Academy. There are lots of free courses on Coursera to deepen your skills. Apart from, of course, you guys have taken Digify. And then someone earlier on was asking around what they should be posting online. I think a really good thing, especially on LinkedIn, to be posting about is things that you're learning and sharing your progress on, where you are, what you're doing, etc. And that's a really good way to build your personal brand. And this really brings me to the end of my presentation. I'll give there are two questions. I'll take the last two questions, and then I'll hand it over back to Pumi. Sorry, I think we're way over. My apologies. We're changing.
Josephine, you can ask your question.
Hi, Bokang. That was very informative. I just want to know, is the tool that you are using on LinkedIn similar to Sales Navigator? And also, I missed the names of the professional that post about vlogs on digital marketing on LinkedIn. Can you also provide those names? And also, I just want to find out what is the best tool for example, maybe you are selling a service. Is it you've mentioned that outreach is the most I'm so sorry for that. Outreach is the most feasible way to run business to business leads. So in terms of like driving people to your website, what other ways can you do?
Okay, so in terms of driving people, okay, so firstly, the person that I mentioned was Gary V. Secondly, the other ways in which you can drive people to your website would be through Google ads, Meta ads, so Instagram ads, Facebook ads. But it all really just depends on what it is you're selling. So just to give you a easy example, if you are a plumber, you would probably use Google ads, and you'd basically run ads for people who are searching for plumbing services. But if you are a fashion brand and you're selling clothes, you'd probably use Instagram, because Instagram is a visual platform, and you'd use Instagram to run ads on Instagram to showcase your clothes. So in terms of how you drive traffic to your website, it really just depends on what product or service it is you're selling. So it really just depends. Yeah.
Unless you are selling IT solutions.
If you're selling IT solutions, I would probably still maintain that cold outreach is your best bet. I think professional services, cold outreach is definitely both email and LinkedIn. Those are the two main B2B platforms. I think everything else, you can use Facebook, you can use what you call this, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., to run ads. But usually where I've seen most of the success and a lot of companies, even at my time at MTN, for example, we did a lot of email and LinkedIn. And email and LinkedIn were actually the only two platforms we did, because I worked in the enterprise division at MTN. And for B2B clients or enterprise clients, we'd only use email and LinkedIn. We did run ads, but not necessarily for customer acquisition. Our customer acquisition strategy was basically LinkedIn and email.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much. And then is it similar, the app, is it similar to Sales Navigator?
Correct. It's similar. The only difference is you can basically create sequences. So basically you can, so for an example, say, the first step will be viewing someone's profile, and then within 1 hour sending them a request, and then after they've accepted a request, like a post within a day so that you get their attention, and then an hour after you've liked a post, send them a direct message. So basically you can sort of in a way automate like a sequence of events, which sort of gets their attention. So it's quite complex, but complex in a way that essentially you can do it in very complex manners, which usually are very successful in terms of getting responses, because someone then has seen your profile, and then you've automated you liking one of their posts, and then after that, by the time you send them a message, they've already probably checked your profile out, and therefore they're somewhat familiar with you, so they're more likely to respond. So tools like Dripify allow you to essentially create those automated sequences, which I've found to work really well. But there's another tool, It's called HeyReach. HeyReach is also a really good one for LinkedIn automation. And HeyReach does both LinkedIn and email, by the way. So that's another one I'd recommend to check out. Okay, I see we have two hands. I'm not sure. I think Prince, you had your hand up first.
Greetings against Chief.
Yes.
Yes. A question. How, like my LinkedIn, I don't like my LinkedIn. How do I clean it up? Because every time I go to it, cleaning up, it seems like a mission and a half. And second question, I'm interested in the gas business. How do I link myself with, I'm a conglomerate, suppose every time I try to email them, it takes a month or even a response from them to help me with the not even awareness, the nitty-gritties, the insights, the links, how to go about the red flags, how to avoid them, purchasing land, getting funding, all of that. How do I get their attention?
I think, okay, so to answer your first question around your LinkedIn and how do you sort of optimize your LinkedIn? I think again, ChatGPT is your friend. I think definitely using AI, plug in your CV into AI, find the best way to sort of position yourself on LinkedIn. I think AI does a really good job in terms of helping you craft sort of the messaging or your sort of position or helps you find the words to position yourself or find the words to use to populate your profile. To answer question number one. To answer question number two, like I said, I think a lot of the times when you're reaching out, especially when it's cold outreach, where the person doesn't know you, you just need to firstly ensure that the email you're sending to the most relevant person. So basically doing research and finding out who the message would be most relevant to. Usually more often than not, as long as so the example that I showed you earlier on, where I was saying that this lady, she does communication coaching and she basically is targeting learning and development managers. She is very clear in terms of who she's targeting and the messages that she's sending or that we're sending aimed at learning and managing learning and development managers. And therefore, the reason why she's getting responses is because the messages resonate with the people receiving them. So I think in relation to you, I think what you should try and do is just figure out the messages or the emails that you want to send, who within those companies are most relevant to receive the message, and contact them. And I think you'll stand a better chance in getting a response.
No, got it. Thank you, Chief.
All right, no problem. And then I think Yonela.
Everyone in the group. I wanted to ask, you have mentioned that you can send your photo to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to make it professional. So now I was going to ask, since I'm doing a content creation, I was going to ask if is it possible that you can also send your video to ChatGPT and ask it to maybe to change the background, whatever case it may be, maybe to turn it in professional, like you do with the photo, as you said.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, so you can basically send it a photo and then you can basically ask it to turn it into a professional headshot or you can, to answer your question.
Or also, yeah, the video. Thank you. I just wanted to ask that. Thank you.
All right, okay. And then I think we have another question. And then I just put my LinkedIn and email. In case anyone wants to contact me, I'm always open to helping, or just if you have any questions or advice after the session, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can also take my email down and you can feel free to send me an email, and I'm always happy to advise or help wherever I can. So yeah, I just thought I'd also share that. Whilst I take the last questions, but I think no one has their hands up. So I think I'll give it back to you. Thank you very much for your time. I think we have one last question.
Collins,
Are you going to ask a question? You've been up, down, up, down.
Okay.
Are you sure you want to
Okay.
ask a question?
Sorry, I'm a bit fixed. So I wanted to ask, when doing outreach, can we do outreach on digital
Sorry, I can't
media?
hear you. I can't hear you properly. You're a bit muffled.
I'm asking if we can do we can use outreach on digital media. Is it possible?
What do you mean by do outreach on digital media?
Because I work in digital publishers with digital publishers of Kenya. So I'm asking if we can use outreach to target our audience.
So because in the publishing space, so that would, I mean, I guess you're sort of, it's more in the consumer space. I wouldn't necessarily say outreach would be the best channel. So I think outreach is more sort of business to business as opposed to sort of business to consumer. But what you could use outreach for in the publishing space is basically finding, advertising partners. So basically connecting with companies that that can run ads on your on the media, on your own platforms or the media platforms you guys have. So outreach would be used more in that context, not necessarily in the context of the sort of consumer or the people consuming the media.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and connect with you. We have a chat a bit more.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, if we have no more questions, thank you everyone for your time. Please feel free, like I said, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My email is also there. And yeah, I hope this was useful. Pumi, Menzi, thank you again for inviting me to speak. I hope, there's some value in the session. And yeah, that's all.
There was a lot of value. Maybe you should take time to read those chats and see how much everyone really appreciate this masterclass. They were like, the masterclass is mastering, so you must know you are on the right. But thank you very much, Bokang. This was really amazing. Indeed, you were very informative. You gave us a lot, and we learned so much, and we'll continue to learn through you, touching base on LinkedIn and your email. So yeah, we really, really, really appreciate your time. One last thing that I will ask from you is that maybe we take a group photo with the candidates before you leave. And then, yeah, from there, by all means, you have done your job. You owe me nothing.
All right, no,
So,
perfect.
ladies and
Thanks so much
gentlemen,
as well. Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, can you please open our video as usual? We do. And then our word for today is quality, okay? Just say quality and then take our pictures. So in 3, 2, 1, quality.
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 And more and stress and
Thank
yeah,
you.
more.
All right, thank you,
I
everyone.
got to see the beautiful and the faces.
Bye.
Very much, sir.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
And thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
Hashem, you know what? You guys are
Thank you.
representing us very well. You are well behaved. So
Thank you.
yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. We will update you guys regarding the grouping. And yeah, all the best with the brief today.
That was good. Excellent.
Thank you, Pumi. Bye.